Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow here. Man, the exposure of the corruption, the funneling of money, the hiding of money, the greed, everything associated with what the Doge guys and Elon Musk are uncovering, it's got my head spinning. I'm a numbers nerd. I've always liked numbers. I hated it when it was my job, but for some reason I like them now. And I can spot trends and things like that, just like most of you can. So I enjoy looking at what these folks are uncovering and tracking it back. These guys are uncovering stuff that all politicians and every single government employee, Republicans and Democrats, either overlooked or benefited from for a long time, likely since our founding fathers, the last of the good ones, passed away. First, guys, go check out my friends over at Gideon Optics. These guys make some very, very nice, high-quality optics at very affordable prices. You guys know the economy has sucked for 4 years. And Gideon Optics has filled a void where you can get affordable, high-performing optics at, again, a very affordable price. I enjoy them. I've run some of these red dots on my A300 shotgun, my 1301 Benelli shotgun, and it never loses zero. These things hang on tight, and you don't have any issues going back to zero. So check them out, Gideon Optics. Don't forget to use my discount code FTATF. Again, FTATF when you go to Gideon Optics website. Doge finds nearly $40 billion in spending linked to government-issued credit cards. Folks, these people are already making ridiculous salaries. And on top of that, we give them a credit card, which I'm sure they have to send in a monthly expense report. And I'm sure the approval process is very thorough. But did you guys see this Sunday night? I didn't. I don't watch the mainstream media. I certainly don't watch 60 Minutes. These people have been left-leaning wackos for a very long time. But I thought this was kind of comical with the strings attached to this story. I'll spill the beans for you ahead of time. The redheaded chick in this video is actually crying and whining about some of the things that USAID provided now that Elon and Doge and Trump have cut off all the frivolous spending and corruption, that now people don't know where they're going to get their next meal, pay for daycare and all that kind of stuff. But the redheaded chick, come to find out, worked for somebody that we are very familiar with, and I'll tell you in a second. Here's the video.
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew...
Hold up. CBS might need to hire me for an editor for their 60 Minutes episodes, because this needs a music bed behind it. Because while she's talking about a couple of sad things, I just don't get the full picture without the bed of sad, melancholy music in the background. Let's try this again.
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight.
All gone overnight for Christina Dry and Adam Dubard, fired this month in the chaotic shutdown of foreign aid distributed by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. More than 8,000 USAID employees were sent home by the administration.
They're not looking for competency. They're not looking for if you're good at your job. They're looking for pure loyalty tests. And if you don't give it, you will be punished.
And they had to leave the building. And these are folks who had decades and decades of public service serving USAID across administrations, from, George Bush to Obama to the first Trump administration. And they were never able to walk back in the building again.
There was no process. No one explained to them why they were being relieved.
To my knowledge, they received an email, and then if they didn't leave the building, they were escorted out of the building.
Oh, man. Oh, they were escorted out the door. Oh, some of them have been there for decades. So then, this chick right here was Samantha Power's speechwriter when they both worked together at USAID. Remember Samantha Powers? This was Barack Obama's old sweetheart chick, not sweetheart in a relationship kind of way, because we all know Barack Obama's gay, But sweetheart NA, he always took care of her, one of his communist friends. And she was his UN representative whenever he was in office. And then, of course, whenever she left there and became part of the Biden administration, which was the quasi-Barack Obama administration, she became the head of USAID. If Barack Obama puts somebody in charge of anything, that means all arrows lead back to Barack Obama's own bank account. I'm sure if you looked hard enough, this is probably why at some point the search will be called off, because the signs are all going to lead back to our boy Barack Obama. But anyway, this lady worked for Samantha Powers, and Samantha Powers, as I reported a week or so ago, amassed over less than a 4-year period of time over a $23 million fortune as she worked off of a $400,000 a year salary. You understand what I'm saying, right? She made $400,000 a year for 4 years, but made $23 million over that same 4 years. It's good work if you can find it. So I would suggest that our sweetheart girl over here with the sad music playing in the background check in with her homie Samantha Power if she needs somebody to kick in to help pay for her, which I doubt she has kids. She looks like she might be of the alternative persuasion, has that kind of butchy look to her, although 60 Minutes seemed to have femaled her up a little bit for this with a little makeup and brushed her hair, probably gave her a little bath. But yeah, I don't think she's going to be worrying about daycare anytime soon. But CBS writing this puff piece here and putting this out there, and again, I'm shocked they missed the whole music bed thing. That had a totally different dynamic to it. Kind of like watching Titanic as Leonardo DiCaprio sinks down into the water down below while his side chick is kicking it on top of the thing with plenty of room. Anyway, I wonder when I see these networks do these pieces, what's in it for them? I mean, I understand they're all left-leaning wackos, and they're part of that lunatic fringe on the left that's just upset. They hate Trump so much they're just mad because he won and beat the brakes off of Kamala Harris. But I still wonder, there's got to be something in it for them, where there actually is. If you go back and look and trace some of this money, CBS is owned by Viacom. I went on to the usspending.gov website, typed in Viacom, and found all these entries here that sent money to Viacom. Looking at a lot of money here. $889,000 at the top, and there are pages upon pages of these entries, meaning Viacom/CBS received lots of money over time, so no wonder they're sad and taking the side of some of the people divvying out that money without any real explanation as to why any of that money is going out the door. No legitimate explanation, put it that way. But everybody in the media is pretty much in it together. There might be some outliers out there, but anyone in the mainstream media, including Fox News, they're owned by Rupert Murdoch, who is receiving tons of money from USAID and from the federal government for frivolous garbage. They're all in it together. They all get money from the federal government somehow, and they all act like, especially the Fox Newses and the CNNs, they act like they're in competition with one another. They're just trying to cover the whole thing. They know there's two sides of the coin. They're just Rupert Murdoch is smart enough to know, I want the wackos on the left and I want the wackos on the right. So, I mean, they're just making sure that they get 100% of the eyeballs, or at least they think they do. I know a lot of us don't watch their stuff, regardless of Fox News or whomever. But this is affecting everyone out there right now. The Trump administration is not having it. All this gravy train where they're paying all this money to all these places, and I'm talking about the Trump administration more specifically right now. They're paying all this money to these press outlets, yet these press outlets are backbiting. They're paying people for leaks within the administration. Meanwhile, Trump's people, inadvertently possibly, but Trump's people are writing checks to them, so they're getting paid to talk bad about the Trump administration. What a beautiful thing, right? Well, they're putting an end to that right now. Doge just cut all the media subscriptions after discovering, shockingly, $8 million to all of these left-leaning sites that I'm about to tell you. We know for certain that 6 of the news organizations that we're all familiar with were singled out. They were The Economist, The New York Times, Politico, Bloomberg News, the Associated Press, and Reuters, which I also did a report on Reuters a few days ago on the corruption there and all the money going out to them. Now, one of the things that I went and looked at was the AP's subscription-based stuff that they sold, this is the specific subscription that was tied to a lot of this $8.2 million that was doled out to these 6 different agencies. The AP Style Book Online and Merriam-Webster cites, license annual pricing. So this is subscription-based access to the AP, which, if you guys aren't aware, the AP basically takes stories, process those stories, write them, whatever, and distribute them to different news agencies that can pull from the AP and run it as a story on their own place. So they're probably paying a subscription to be able to run that story, like a licensing fee. I'm sure that's how it works, which is kind of ironic because I use the Fair Use Act clause here on this channel and I share AP stuff for free. I don't have to pay all this money, but apparently other people do, especially the federal government, when you can screw them out of money, right? So not only do they write these left-leaning stories and distribute them to the different media outlets, they also have a, quote, style book. I did a story on their style book a few years ago because the style book had some anti-gun rhetoric in there. That was kind of interesting. The style book fancies itself as a way to write articles and kind of coaching you to write articles in the media, but it also does other things. It frames you and makes you think that you're doing things a certain way. Meanwhile, they are brainwashing you to write stories a certain way, using certain terms, using whatever the new fluffy terms are that they want you to use. That's why a lot of times you're watching the media and you notice that people are all using the same phrases and same terms. In many cases, it may come from that style book that's telling you this is how we are thinking right now. And it's really how they do it. As you can see here, they have some really, really high subscription numbers, depending on how many people you have working for your organization. Apparently, we had a lot of people that were receiving this subscription from the AP because they were a large portion of 8.2 million. Now, a little bit more detail on that style book. This is something that the AP really fancies himself as something very special that everybody in the media needs to have, whether you're writing actual text for some of the online outlets or the newspaper outlets, or whether you're writing scripts for your video news articles. But here's what I was telling you about it, how they try to tell you what you need to do. This is a write-up on the AP style book. And this is some things that it's pointing out were in the 2022 style book by the AP. Inclusive storytelling takes center stage. Again, they're telling you how to write your stories regardless of what the subject matter is. This book tells you how to wrap your stories into the type of messaging that they're trying to send out. Look under number 1. This year, the biggest focus for the AP style book editors was creating an entirely new chapter on, get this, inclusive storytelling. Inclusive is the I in the DEI initiative that you know so much about. The chapter includes advice for both writers and editors with a special emphasis on the language used in inclusive storytelling. Inclusive storytelling seeks to truly represent all people around the globe. It gives voice and visibility to those who have been missing or misrepresented in traditional narratives of both history and daily journalism. See what I mean? It's telling you how to write your story regardless of the subject matter and telling you to add a flair of inclusion in there. It goes on with several steps in here talking about that, 2 paths towards inclusion, a whole write-up on that. Visuals matter too. It tells you how to send these pictures or take these pictures to help emphasize various things, including what they want you to do in inclusion in your stories. So again, we've got $8.2 million going to a bunch of BS, and some of it is going to the AP for their little style book here. Another part that I pulled from the story is that a State Department official, and this is my best part, I saved it for last, a State Department official who spoke to the paper under the condition of anonymity confirmed the guidance, while another who received the memos last week expressed fear about terminating the news subscriptions. And this is why. Embassy security officials rely on such coverage to prepare for travel in conflict zones, they said, and a worker claimed to the Post that Trump's new mandate will endanger American lives, quote unquote. First of all, this is why Trump needs to be rooting out all these wackos. This person speaking on the condition of anonymity because, why? They're speaking out against the Trump administration. They're ratting out people, maybe lying even because they're considered experts because they're on the inside. That's the kind of people they need to get rid of. But this person is saying that we need access to Politico, the AP, and all these other subscriptions that we currently get, free subscriptions that are free to them, not to the federal government. We're paying $8.2 million. But they need all that. And why? Because they were asked whenever they sent this questionnaire out or this email out to everybody, there was a questionnaire in there, and it told them we're canceling these because of this. And if you have anything else similar to this, ask yourself these questions. Does it make America safer if we have these subscriptions? Does it make America stronger? Does it make America more prosperous if we have these subscriptions? Since they couldn't answer yes to any of those, none of these things, including the AP little subscription, made America safer, stronger, or more prosperous. But they like to use the word safety. I've said this before. Anytime you can wrap your cause around safety, most people won't ask questions about it. Because God forbid we question safety. We're putting somebody in danger. So that's why they said it doesn't make America safer, but they're saying that it makes the people in the field safer because they use all of these subscriptions to determine if one of the areas they need to travel in is a conflict zone and if it's dangerous to them whenever they travel. I found it a little bit odd that the United States government and officials within the United States government would rely on private, non-governmental publications, websites, to determine if an area that they were going to was safe enough for them to travel to. So somebody from the State Department is traveling to somewhere, and instead of asking somebody from the State Department if it's safe to travel there, let me log into my AP account to see if it's safe over there. I need to read some news stories to determine whether or not it's safe for me to travel over there. Is that the source that our government officials should be seeking out to determine if it's safe for them to physically go to these same locations geographically? So I wondered if our $8.2 million to these people was actually in the right place. I figured, let me see if some of these places out there might be telling me, just a hunch, I'm going to go to a non-governmental place like Google, I'm sure you've heard of it, and see if a particular place that I punch in is safe or not. So I typed in, is it safe to travel to Somalia? Surely you've heard of the place. It's over in Africa. The very first thing that popped up says, and I quote, avoid all travel. Avoid all travel to Somalia. If you are currently in Somalia, despite this advisory, you should leave immediately. The security situation in Somalia is extremely volatile and the threat of domestic terrorism is high, particularly in south central Somalia and in the capital, Mogadishu. That was Google. That was the first entry on Google. Go try it yourself. Is it safe to travel to Somalia? I scrolled down the page. The second entry was from guess who? The State Department. I clicked on the link. This is what it told me. Now, this is not an AP link. Remember, we got rid of all that AP BS with all the other people out there to the tune of $8.2 million because, hey, they made us safer, so we needed it. We got rid of it, so did we create a gap in our security? I don't think so. The actual federal government, State Department, had this on their website regarding travel to Somalia. Do not travel. And it's in red. Red being the highest one. Look to the right-hand side of your screen. Red means do not travel. That is level 4, the worst one. Level 1, of course, exercise normal precautions. 2, exercise increased caution. 3, reconsider your travel. 4, do not travel. First paragraph says, do not travel to Somalia due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, health issues, kidnapping, piracy, and lack of availability of routine consular services. Those are all really good reasons for me not to go to Somalia, and I access this information for free, no matter who I am and how important I am. I know that Somalia is not safe to travel to, and I don't even have a subscription to the AP. And I know this already. Took me all of about 30 seconds to determine I'm not going to Somalia. Now, for those of you that are not aware, this is Somalia. Surprisingly, the whole country is level 4 in red, do not travel. The whole country. And if you look, this is still on the State Department's own website. All the areas in red, do not travel to them. Do not go. Most of Northern Africa and the Middle East look to be places that you might not want to go. And I suggest you check out this website first, because I'm not so sure you want to put your life in the hands of the AP. And I noticed this little country, I think that's Burma. Yeah, that's Burma. Burma, do not travel to Burma. It's level 4, do not travel. There's a little dust up going over there in Burma. I would not recommend going over there. As you can see, all of Russia, Ukraine, all of this area is in red, do not travel. Again, I do not have an AP account. I simply access this on Google for free. But then I found myself going down a rabbit hole. You know, we talk about that all the time, how you can get online and go down a rabbit hole. Pretty much where I went whenever I found this State Department site that shows you this. It's pretty interesting. If you want to go there yourself, I'll post the link in the description down below. But I went over to the Western Hemisphere and took a look. And as you can see, yep, Venezuela up there. Nobody wants to go to Venezuela. Haiti, same thing. But look at Mexico. And look more specifically where Mexico borders Texas, just south of Brownsville in the Corpus Christi area. Tamaulipas, I'm not sure if that's the proper pronunciation. Level 4, do not travel. According to the State Department, this has been since August of 2023. Let's see real quick. Again, this is going down the rabbit hole. This is their reasons. December 2024, shooting in Palenque. January 25, do not travel due to crime and kidnapping. February 2025, multiple gunfights throughout the city of Nuevo Laredo. And also February 2025, shooting in Colonia La Rioja, I believe that's what that is. So we don't need a multi-million-dollar subscription to the AP or anybody else to determine if a place is safe to go to. We're already paying for a website with the State Department that's doing all of that work. And while I don't trust the federal government on many things, I do trust them a little bit more than I trust the AP or Reuters or Time Magazine or whoever else that we might be paying some $1 million subscription to tell me if it's safe for me to travel there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to email the link to the State Department so that they know if they need to travel. Your little account that you accessed before, it's not necessary. You already got this in your toolkit. Now, one last thing in closing, I wanted to have a little bit of fun. I had so much fun putting that music bed behind that sad story. I wanted to give you my interpretation of this story in different settings and how music, just to give you an example, how music can set the tone. What if this were, let's say, a sleuth story? What if this were whodunit mystery, right?
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight.
What if this were the beginning of a horror movie?
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight.
And what if we were just happy about the fact that some of these jackasses who have been siphoning money off of us, the taxpayers, we're just happy that these people are out of work and they're not stealing money from us anymore?
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight.
What would you say you do here?
I'm sorry, I thought this was He's out of ammo!